encourage people to consciously want to create that, because otherwise we're just sort of in the world and not really, like, time goes by so fast, and a year goes by in a click of the hands, and if we're not actively creating and taking action in the world, doing your passions or creating something you love, if you don't set that as a goal in the future, then you're just going to be exactly where you were 5 years ago.
Hi, welcome to Supernormalized, and I'm your host CJ. On this episode of Supernormalized, you're in for a treat. One of my friends, Ermond, is a spiritual and other explorer. He's been doing this since he was a child and has discovered for himself and for others portals and ways into the other through meditation and focused spiritual practice that has enabled him to produce art and healing techniques which are unique. And he does so just for the benefit of basically everyone. He does this also in a part of the process of finding himself and answering the overarching question of what am I? As you'll hear in this episode, he has had a very long and extensive experience of this exploration, and it has brought him to some very deep and clear understandings of the world we are in and how we relate to it. Today's show for Supernormalized, I've got a friend on called Ermond Machika. Is that the right way to say your name, Ermond?
Yes, Ermond Machika. Yeah,
Machika. Okay. Where does that name come from?
My parents. First of all, thanks for having me on. Very grateful to be on here. Thank you. The name comes from my first name, my last name, both.
Probably your last name, because I've never seen that name.
Yeah, my parents, both of them are from the Philippines. And Machika, I don't really know, because a lot of the records of the family history got destroyed in various like typhoons and stuff. So they actually lost a lot of ways to trace back where things originate from.
Right.
It's said to be some, I don't know, like Chinese or Japanese or something like this down the line. But it's very much unknown.
Yeah. So have you always lived in Australia?
I was born in Brisbane at the Mater Hospital. So yeah, I've always lived in Australia, mostly Queensland. And I've been like just visiting overseas. I haven't lived overseas. So mostly here in Australia. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Logan, I suppose, growing up. But these days I'm in Brisbane.
And so with maybe we should go into basically your personal, how would you say, way in the world, because I would say you're probably one of the most spiritual people I know, and the way you interact and work in the world is quite unique. Where did that all come from?
Where did it come from? I would say as a younger child, I've had some experiences I guess I thought were normal, but I guess were not, as I'd find out later. I guess, for example, I thought I could, as a child, I thought I was annoyed that I couldn't fly, I couldn't teleport.
You're annoyed. That's excellent.
Go invisible. I also very weirdly thought that my blood was blue and my skeletal system was in a different setup. And so I think at some point I went to get an X-ray for whatever reason. I can't remember, but I remember them going, "Oh no, they're going to find out my skeletal system is different." Came out of the X-ray and was like, "Oh yeah, everything's fine. Everything looks normal." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, so it was a bit weird as a kid. But I mean, I definitely had other weirder experiences. Like very young, like 4 years old, I would be laying down in bed ready for sleep, and then perfectly just lying down as normal, and getting into rest and sleep, my body would start, it would feel like my body was swaying horizontally left and right, a lot, like I was in a hammock, and I would just sort of let that continue for a while. And I remember it's happened multiple times, and I would open my eyes and my body would just be just still, like not moving at all. So I was sort of exposed to these kinds of experiences. I also remember looking at old school couches that have a lot of like floral patterns and stuff like this. And
yeah,
I mean couches or carpet, but I look at a couch and I would see, as a kid, I would see faces, and I'd see like one face. I could make out a face, I would say, out of the floral patterns. And then the face would then change into another face. And then I'd see the face change into another face, as in I could make out another face out of the patterns. And then it would just, the weird thing was, like, it just kept on going and I couldn't control it. It was strange. So, and then more to your question, where did it lead? Something that kind of sort of directed me in more of a spiritual direction was, I remember being in daycare as a kid. I don't know, I must have been like just over 5 or something like this, or 4 or whatever. And I remember laying down like for like a midday siesta type thing, and I had a colored pencil. I was holding it above my face. I was laying down, holding the pointed tip on my face, and just sort of like, kind of like scared that the tip's going to fall and drop on my eyeball or something like this one. And I just kept on playing, and I eventually I moved the tip to lined up towards the middle of my eyebrows, and I started to feel this like a tingling feeling, ticklish feeling, and right in the center of my head. And I was like, "What's this?" And I just played with it for like a good while, 15 to 20 minutes, just like playing with it, because it would intensify as I could play with it for a bit. And I remember getting up after playing with that, and I heard as well, it was annoying in my mind that, and it basically said, "You must remember this." So it was like this, mature, kind of serious, kind of important moment, like, you need to remember this. And then, I'm just a kid. I'm just like, like, oh, okay. Then I just sort of go on about my day. And years later, I don't know if you remember, Chris, there was a TV show called Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, remember that.
Yeah, I used to love that stuff. I was always drawn to that kind of thing. But at some point in that show, they mentioned the word third eye. And I just sort of clued on that what I was playing with, the ticklish feeling in my forehead, was the third eye. And then nothing really happened more after that. But in around 2001, I was in grade 8, first year high school. I got a computer. And then I went onto Google. I had the internet, old school dial-up days. But yeah, I went on there, and then you can type in anything you want. Eventually I typed in the third eye, And this opened the doors to a lot of information, of course, about chakras. And back then, there was probably only 2 websites that showed up in the Google results of third eye. Nowadays, you look up third eye, and it's just pages upon pages. And that led to a discovery of spiritual information, occult information, Eastern philosophy, spiritual understandings, and that's. And then for about 5 years, I was just sort of reading, absorbing, researching, and in and out, and looking at this sort of stuff. So that's how I went in that direction there.
Yeah.
A young teen.
Yeah. Okay. And that led you into making art and then providing services for people for healing and things like that. How did that play out?
Well, yeah, eventually, but what was it? Probably, so I was looking and reading stuff for like 5 years, and then there was a point where it was like, okay, I guess my inner being was a bit like, you've read a lot now, you've done all this theory, it's time to actually do something, like actually meditate.
Yeah.
And then I remember sitting down in my bedroom at mum's place and just going, okay, all right, universe, if this is all real, as in like the things I've read for the last 5 years, like the universe is real, or this thing called a higher self is real, and then what, like spirits are real, and all this other stuff is real, then prove it to me, show it to me, and I'm all in. And then I went to proceed to sit in the traditional, just sitting down meditation, close my eyes, I was in the dark. And then somehow I was able to just have a bit of an opening where my mind was a bit more quiet. And then this silence sort of was a catalyst to me experiencing myself for the first time beyond just my physical body. And then that was incredible, because I felt like I had more of a expansive, energetic, lighter sense to me. I felt myself as wider. I felt myself stretching and all this kind of strange sensations. And and this went on for a short amount of time, but I was absolutely ecstatic. It blew my mind. Like I was just like, it just confirmed, like I was not just the body. And then there's more to me, and what am I, kind of thing. And I remember right after that, I was just like jumping and running down the hall, just like, whoa, what happened there? It's like the first, not well. I mean, I had different sort of paranormal-ish experiences, but that was the first, in conscious delving in type of experience. And then I realized then what I said was, if you show me, I'm all in. And so I then committed and went all in, as in each day after that, I then began meditating pretty much every day. Since then, and even still today, I'll go in a meditation at each point through the day. And that led to years of just exploring different kinds of meditation. First, it was around like breathing meditations, single focus meditations. And I spent a lot of time. It's kind of a practice called Hiridaya, which is basically bringing the awareness into like the center of your chest, and just purely just being aware of what's being arising, and open to just basically open the heart and feel, and this kind of thing. So that I had a lot of different experiences through those years of meditating, and eventually, so eventually I was also going to uni, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do at uni. Eventually I finished with a degree in Bachelor interactive and entertainment and visual design. So I had this whole creative side to me. Love the artwork stuff. It just sort of was fun, and I just like creating it in my own time. I'd throw some music on and create some interesting images of like me glowing in light, or like I just thought it was cool playing with and manipulating images and this kind of thing. And yeah,
was there purpose to making the images, just as beyond enjoyment?
Back in those days, it was just for fun.
Yeah,
I just liked the look of it. It just back in those days, very early Photoshop days, where people weren't used to seeing manipulated photos. So I love the factor of just, I guess, surprising people and just being, just making photos different and just interesting. But yeah, but eventually, down the track, I eventually then started to do a bit more artwork with a whole energetic side to it. That's basically what I do today in my artwork, is like creating the art that has some energy behind it, and as well as looking pretty.
Yeah. So it's more purposeful nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very much so.
It seems like your overarching driver has been the "what am I" sort of question throughout all of this. Have you figured out what you are yet?
Well, I know as much to say I'm nothing that I say I am. As in, anything I say is just limiting the what I actually am. But yeah, I mean, I basically lump it and simplify and just say everything is like what people might call God or the universe, or I don't know, whatever terms people use. And so I know myself as God, as well as like this, but it's like, to me, it's all so simultaneous. Like, I know myself as the infinite, but I also know myself as like pure awareness, plus also like many different levels of me throughout the cosmos, the universe, and of course me as a human personality. Yeah, so there's just, there's pure simultaneity. It's like so many levels, and for me, you know how it is. It's hard to put this stuff into real words.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is. Well, it literally is ineffable. So yeah, that's right. So putting it into words, like you say, is quite limiting of it, because the words fail to even put an edge on it, really, or even frame it in any way. As soon as you put a frame on it, you've lost it anyway. So it's
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's funny, but it's fun to try and describe it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we can use metaphors and point out it in different ways, and I know that your art is another way of in that way. It's like a doorway. Like you actually say these are like portals to higher awareness, and I see that in your art.
But so in my artwork, I suppose there are, like I said, there's so many different levels to me and in each of us. And in my artwork, I like to basically sort of give off the energy, encode the energy of just like bigger levels of creation into an artwork. For example, I have an artwork that's about Cosmic Father, which is like this biggest version of the archetype of father in existence, kind of thing. So, and I put that into an artwork so that people can sort of remember or feel it, get a sense of it, and perhaps feel it inside of themselves, and see something in their self that they haven't seen before, but has really always been here. So I almost try to remind people of things that are higher, or that open the heart, and yeah, sort of expand one's mind. And I really love the aspect of putting the energy encoded into the artwork, because, like I said, I did uni. I did some visual design sort of things, and I remember looking at people's artworks, and some of the more energetic spiritual artworks, I could feel something in it. I could feel like something inside of me changing or opening as I look at it. And I remember going, but this is just a piece of paper. There's nothing to it. There's nothing to it.
The scientific materialist rationalist part of you is like, this is just a piece of paper.
It's just, or yeah, exactly. Or this is just a line. Like, what's this got to do with anything? In like, how does this,
So you're looking at it, you're tasting the magic of art and going, I don't know
what's happening to me.
Yeah, exactly. But that's because you are so open, I think, and that's makes it so that is possible. Not everyone gets that experience and is conscious of it. I would say a lot of people look at art and they're unconscious of those experiences.
Yeah, in more of the that scholastic world, the university world, and left brain. They have color therapy and stuff like this. They understand that color creates an effect on the way people feel and perceive things.
Yeah,
but that still feels very like the material level things. In my artwork, I do try to put in a deeper energy into it, so that it can, as I said, invoke things or make people feel maybe more of a sense of peace, or maybe more of an open heart, or maybe anything.
Are you encoding intention?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely have an intention these days of what I want to create, or the energy I want to put into an artwork, and I know that basically when we create anything, there's I call it like a law of structure. I know this from another lady who told me about this information. I've read about this information called the law of structure, where it's like everything that you create kind of has this structure of it has like an authority, has an intention, and it has the consent. And so when I create my artwork, I basically have the authority of it as to that bigger me that I might call as God source. And then I give consent to my deeper levels of me, and that which is like purely serves the purpose of my intention. And then I set my intention, which is like, for example, I might create an artwork which just opens the heart. And so when I have that set, and when I create the artwork, it's almost like, yeah, I start to get a little bit of inspiration, get a bit of idea, get a bit of that creative flow. And then, but I also feel deep from inside my heart, it's like information and energy transmits onto the, like if I'm working on a computer, like straight onto the image I'm working on. And it just sort of adds and it keeps on building. This energy just automatically flows out of me and then into the artwork. And the general principle is the energy that's inside of you then gets transferred into the artwork. So if people do emotional art therapy, the anger that they release then gets put into the artwork, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then so if I want my intentions to open the heart, then I will open my heart, and then make sure that gets put onto the artwork. Fortunately, I feel like my energetic beingness is very suited and sort of set up and geared towards transmitting energy.
Yeah.
In general, I think men and males are very good transmitters, like set up as the transmitters, and females are very good for like connecting and that vertical connection with higher spiritual realms. But the male energy can definitely transmit, and so I definitely transmit as much as I can into the artwork and just make it sure that it's lit. Yeah.
Excellent.
I suppose to backtrack a little bit, I couldn't feel I couldn't feel any of this. And so, I mean, if you're listening to this and you don't know what I'm talking about, I understand. I couldn't feel. I didn't know what people were talking about open heart and love in the heart and this kind of thing. No idea. I'd close my eyes and it'd just be like, be like dead in my chest. But it's just for blank. And then I spent a lot of time. That's why I wanted to really. I have spent some time, like I said, doing this practice of bringing my awareness into the heart. And opening it, exploring like what is it like, what's an open heart, what does that even mean, and what's love in the heart, and then how much love can I open up to. So I spent maybe about 5 years just doing one single practice each few hours a day, and then it reached a point where I could I'm just almost like that at any point when I want to. And so I can then, it's helped me be able to, I guess, like for the example of creating an open-hearted artwork, I suppose.
Right.
So that inner work, you could say I did, was definitely something which has helped me in my creations that I do today.
Yeah. Excellent. So when you produce your artworks now, you say you're making them on the computer mostly. Have you done works with pencil and paper as well, or in paint?
Not really.
Not really.
No, I used to draw on this kind of thing, paint, more drawing than anything. But I do my like old school sketches and stuff. Yes, but I love digital because I love there's just a lot that I can do digitally that I can't. I'm not the best drawer or anything like that. I could be if I practice more, but I like
you're busy
pulling different images together and compiling it. So and all the fun and joy of using things like Photoshop, playing with things and there's a lot you can do digitally that you just got so much more versatility. And, for example, some of my artwork, more recently ones, I can't like the my one of my recent ones. It was about the spiritual heart, and everything on that image was very much like there. So I know that there is this gate. I call it a gate inside of my being, and also what I know to be inside of everyone else's beingness as well. That I call the spiritual heart, which is a very deep doorway, which is like almost like a direct doorway to God's source consciousness, or more like that quintessence essence of source.
Yeah.
But I wanted to put that as an artwork, so I wanted to see what that kind of gate looks like. And in my mind's eye, I don't see too much in much detail, but I just basically closed my eyes and I was just like, okay, let's try to tune in and have a look at this gate and see if it has any sort of structure or form. And even if it doesn't, just sort of something I can ground based on what I'm perceiving. So I saw this kind of like a rectangular squares, diamond shaped openings, and then it was more 3D, but my artwork, so it's like more like a 2D thing. So I then depicted that shape into the artwork, and then there were very particular colors, and the colors on each thing is not randomly selected. It was purely by what I could feel in my heart. So I needed the outside to be like a yellowish gold. And there's like almost like an infinite amount of hues of gold and yellow. And so I needed to find if the right one, which actually matches the structure of what's being shown to me as of the spiritual heart gate. And then the more I would be accurate in the color palette in Photoshop, the more my heart would open. So it's almost like the universe going, this is
so
it.
it's tuning you.
Yeah. And if I move away from yellow and maybe go slightly more green, my heart will close. And slowly the light would dim down. And as I move back to the yellow, I'd be like, yes, this is the one. Stay there. Cool. Don't change it. So each color on there is very specifically chosen through the guidance that comes through my heart.
Yes.
And then that, in effect, somehow when the colors are right, it's almost like the colors are more conducive to a frequency, and then that frequency then gets, it just goes into the artwork even more effectively, even more powerfully, and just purely. And so that's kind of like a bit of the most recent way I've been doing some art. So mostly art from the heart, you could say, is what I create.
Excellent.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. I'm looking at that piece now. It's really striking.
Yeah, very simple in its design. It's nothing complex, but it's just I just love it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really it's got a good feel to it. So for listeners, I'll include if Ermond agrees, of course. I'll include links to Ermond's site, and if he agrees, I might be able to embed this one just into the page, so people can have a look at it and see it as well, because it's just enchanting.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you don't only do art; you do other things as well, and you heal people. And you also provide other services like land healing. what else do you do, and how did you come about to be doing those things too?
Yeah, I do. I suppose I do. I never know what to call myself, but got to give myself a label and stuff like this. I guess I fit under the category of doing energy work, um,
Mm.
and it's a very wide label. But basically, I help people feel more open and freedom inside themselves. I support people with their intention and their journey, and to help them feel more connected, more free and open. And that's like the basis of like pretty much all my work. And so that comes in the format of doing like my sessions. But yes, I also do like the land clearing, and also I create something called a universal stream.
Mm.
But in my journey of like sort of like is in essence just becoming more conscious of what's here, and what's in the energy field. It's just it's so vast and wide, and there's so much stuff in it. Stuff that empower people, and then stuff that disempower people. And in the journey, it's like, first of all, people are so aware of like things like their emotions. That's the most tangible things to most people, their emotions,
Yeah.
how they feel. But then, there's so many things inside of us that impact the way that we think, the way that we feel, and then consequently our actions. And those things, like as I said, are emotions, but also, of course, things like beliefs. But there's also things like there's things like black magic. There's things like various forms of magic, but there's also things like entities, non-physical, you could say, beings that think and feel in their own sort of way, as well as AI, or like and many forms of inorganic machinery that are inside each of our energy fields. Pretty much everyone's on the planet that's not organic to them, as in it's really not part of your organic being. It's kind of been put in there. And so my journey of just sort of exploring what it's like to remove all the inorganic stuff, and just being curious as to like, what am I like if I'm just have organic stuff in my energy field. Generally, it feels very open and freeing and more connected, and it's easier to tap into things like love and bliss, and getting in the flow. It's amazing once a lot of the inorganic stuff is gone. So after a few years of doing that, I realized I can do the same for other people, and so I do that as my sessions. But the really interesting thing is that us and the planet's very, very connected, and some things that we can find in us can also be found in the planet. And so I then started to shift from shifting stuff not just inside of my energy field, but also in the external world around me, such as the home, the land, the areas, and finding that these two had different like entities, and then different structures and machinery that, again, generally just what they do is change the way we think and feel in ourselves, in a way that we don't really realize. But they're so I basically just sort of shift it and remove it. And but one of my skill sets that I found out was that part of, well, not me as the human personality, but me as like a higher essence of me is really good at building energy technology, energy architecture, just some sort of energetic structure which has a purpose. For example, clearing entities. For example, I can build a structure which just clears entities throughout multiple dimensions, and my structures can clear it for up to a 10 the ones I build here, or I have allowance to build here, is ones that range from cover a 10-kilometer radius and a 20-kilometer diameter. And within that range, any entity that has pretty much an ill intention will automatically get teleported out of that space. And I've got well over like 40 different types of these that I can put into a land area, and help clear the land, lighten it up, such as ones to basically fill the land with light, to like emanate like healing energy, to remove a lot of the there's different types of black magic in the land. There's different types of sorcery, like just negatively impacting sorcery. There's I have to pull out my list, but yeah, just correcting. There's lots of things like correcting the magnetic energy in the air land, and things. There's lots of disharmonious energies in the land, like 4G, 5G towers are quite microwave-like in their feeling, in their sensation. So just things to just harmonize the land. So that and there are lots of things that don't like the land being cleared. So there's a lot of adventures that have gone on, and I've put in place a lot of things around the planet. And it's been a very, very, very interesting exploration.
Well, usually when people do this kind of work, they often find that because they are a beacon, then pretty much you get attacked a lot more often. Do you find that too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I find that the more it's interesting. Like as I open up and clear more, I find that there are different groups and beings that just have ill intention. I will say that, and believe that they kind of like own us and own humanity, which they ultimately don't. And I believe we are sovereign. But yeah, so clearing your land and this kind of stuff goes against their agenda. Helping people become more open, empowered, free thinking, more connected to their higher mind, and just clear thinking and clear feeling. Anything that supports that empowerment and openness and open-heartedness and love and peace, just kind of it's not part of their agenda. And it's like, if you don't get what you don't, something blocks you from getting what you want. People get agitated by that, and these guys definitely do. So yeah, you do get. I do have. I remember sitting at home meditating. Doing all the work that I said, like meditating at home and sitting in the heart.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling in my body like how dense it was all around me. It was very dense. Felt like everything was tight and kind of dead. And I couldn't really feel upwards above me and below me. I could try to push my way through. But there were, I just remember the first time I realized I could build this technology to clear entities. And I started to build one like right next to my bedroom. And once it was built, it was like things were just, popping and disappearing, and the space started to open up and expand. And then all these things were getting swooped in like a magnet, like moths to a flame kind of thing. They just get all sucked in and disappear. And then it felt like I could breathe, felt like I was more open. I could connect vertically more. I could feel more. And everything was just lighter. And I was just like, holy shit. Like I was surrounded the whole time.
And you didn't know.
No, no.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and it just, I was like, well, what else can I do? What else can I do?
Yeah.
And fortunately, that technology I built, it's it runs off sort of like source energy, so it's unlimited. I don't need to power it up. I don't need to plug it into a power slot.
Yeah.
Um, doesn't run off fossil fuels. I mean, it doesn't, it's just unlimited and its energy goes on forever. I don't need to maintain it and they can't touch it. So it's just 24/7 there and maintains the space. So, so of course, different beings would try to come and try to attack, and then they get teleported. And then what they then do, the next stage is that they move into using, we call it as direct energy weapons. So basically energy weapons, and they try to like basically shoot beams, lasers, scalar energy, sonar weaponry, silent weaponry, all kinds of different energy weaponry, black magic energy, black magic frequencies, everything under the sun that they can think of. And at the same time, then I'm coming up with new things like technology to basically transmigrate or just make it so that because I could feel, and when I say weaponry, like beams and laser, it feels like something that is kind of like microwaving you or me, or like something that stings or feels really hot or makes me feel really, really uncomfortable. It's not like it's like, punching a hole through my body kind of thing, but it's definitely annoying.
So they're trying to get your attention.
Yeah, they're trying to get my attention. They're trying to
distract
me, trying to keep me
busy.
Busy, and doing everything other than I suppose things that help and feel more free and stuff like this. So that's fun. Yeah. Highways, I find there's a lot of surveillance and different things along the highways that they sort of look at beings that will watch and observe, and they will. There are different types of technologies and cubes in the area that will basically detect, like if you have more Christic energy inside of yourself, or like Christic, I mean like you're more like opening yourself up to like God's source, or like a more open, higher frequency energy in your field. Your energy field is bigger, it's more open, and it changes the field. It's noticeable. And they can sense that and see that, and so then it's almost like in a sci-fi movie. There's like machinery that it locks onto you and then starts shooting beams at you. Like, this stuff's like out of movies, but this stuff is already in the field and it's been here for a very long time. And so, it's just like, whoa, hold on, everything isn't just love and light. There is a lot here that was attempting to basically keep everyone from seeing this and suppressing this. And there's a lot of things in my energy field which basically hold the purpose of blocking my higher sensory perception, which I believe is just normal perception, but it's kind of been dumbed down. And obviously we don't learn about higher sensory perception in school. We don't learn about this kind of thing. And so no one talks about it. No one really knows about it. So you don't hear about it. And so you never really explore feeling energy or seeing energy, or
that's right.
Unless you have like hippie parents or something.
Or you're just naturally open to it, like you are. So
or you do some psychedelics or something, and open up to much more. It just opens you to much more of what's already here. it's nothing. It's nothing. I mean, it's just your natural sensory perception that's organically built into you. Just like our eyes are naturally meant to see, we're supposed to feel things as well. But most people just don't seem to. So then most people don't perceive a lot of the stuff. And mind you, I never always used to perceive this kind of stuff. And the stuff I'm talking about, not at all. It's definitely been a journey to become more aware of what's already here, and being daring and bold enough to see everything, everything light and everything dark and everything, just what makes up this world. So yeah. So I clear stuff in there as well.
So a question around all that. What do you know about simulation theory?
Simulation theory. Oh, well, how did you define that?
Well, I mean, if we are living in a simulation, it does sound like you're hacking it, so you can actually basically upgrade. And the upgrade isn't really an upgrade because you're, if you are at one with source, then all you're doing is just taking off all the blinkers that have been put on us.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels, sometimes it's like a game.
Yeah.
I notice, for example, if I do significant work on the planet or work on the area, or even just like clearing my home, for example, I get rewarded. I get rewarded with love. I get rewarded with being really happy. But I also, if I do some sort of work, like I've done stuff overseas in the UK, different areas, land masses that are heavy energy, and even stuff in Parliament in Australia and Canberra, stuff like this. Anyway, you get rewarded, as in you get like, you can get, what I call it, trying to say things that won't sound too out there. You get a
say
cape.
anything you like. It's okay.
You get a cape, or you might get an item, or you might get a crystal, or you might get a body, or you might a body like a spherical thing, or you get access to certain things, and you get noticed, and so you get rewarded. So it's very, very interesting how it works like that. But I think part of that is like, this general kind of law. It's like what you put out is what you get back. So you do good things for people, you kind of get good back to you, kind of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just, back to what you're saying. It is like a game, and it's just interesting how, you could say there's like math and numbers like everywhere all around us. It's almost, and people know about sacred geometry or like Fibonacci sequences and things like this. There's like code and numbers everywhere, and it just makes you wonder, like, is this everything coded? Everything's been designed, and it does make you feel like, you're in a kind of like a game, I suppose, an experience here. And so even in the sense of time and this reality, it's you'd almost wonder, like, would I just sort of like one day sort of, am I actually, when I'm awake and walking around and at work, am I actually not awake? Am I actually asleep? And then one day I will wake up out of this into quote unquote the real world.
Is this an ongoing coma I've had?
So will I wake up and go, oh, that was a nice dream, or because that was a nice experience. But yeah, in my my experiences, I remember wanting to know, I suppose, truth and God and stuff like this. So curious about. And it's very interested in things like God, not the God of religions, but just more like what's the real essence of God, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of exploration. And I remember at a certain point going really deep, and then realizing this thing. There was this. I remember asking, like, what's this? I remember discovering things about gates, and I remember, like, if you don't know what a gate is, it's like a portal, almost like leads you to somewhere. And I remember asking deep inside myself, okay, what's the deepest gate? Give me the deepest gate. I want to go to the deepest gate. And then with the deepest gate, nothing outside of me, but inside of me. And the only word I could put to it at the time, I was like, oh, is this a God gate? That's kind of like my, knowing. And I remember going into this God gate and then feeling like, yeah, it's all the typical words of like an openness and a oneness kind of a feeling. But going into this deeper intelligence, but that felt more real. It felt like it felt like every one of us in form or in creation, in the individualization, was basically just exploring what it is, almost as if you're outside of God or disconnected, almost not connected. Yeah, like you're just individualized, and that you don't know God, kind of thing. And it almost felt like once I had realized and connected with God, had a self-realization that I was one with it and am it, it felt almost like a graduation.
Right.
And it felt like everything that I thought was outside of God was actually all inside of God the whole time. And it just felt like I now walk into this world, and it's like from a different place, like knowing the oneness of existence is everywhere, and it's all connected, and the center of the universe is everywhere, like a whole oneness kind of perspective, and God is everything and everywhere. And so it just felt like everything is one. And as you're saying, it's almost we just have blinders on temporarily. It's hard to describe.
Sometimes it's blinders, I'd say, but also other times I'd say it's like an active, ongoing distraction. It actually takes energetic effort to allow yourself to not be distracted.
Yeah. Well, I guess some people would say abiding in awareness or something like this.
Yeah.
It's like it's an effort of the effortlessness.
That's it. Yeah, I was going to say that. It's like the effortless effort. You've got to sort of let go while sort of reaching for it, but not so you can't. You can reach, but you don't grasp. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can't. You try, and then
you
can't try because then you're not letting go.
That's right.
And then it's just like, yeah. So, but I'm sure you've had moments where you just sort of, it does feel like it deepens sometimes, and I can go deeper into it, and I suppose in a more grounded sense, it just feels like nothing really matters, but in a good way. Yeah.
Wow, that's excellent.
It's all fun. Being in creation.
It's ongoing.
Yeah. It seems like, I guess, endless.
Yeah.
Infinite, forever. But yet the truth and the oneness of it all is also forever here as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know the answers, and I'm always curious and exploring, and as sure as maybe you do. So
Nobody stops. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's like a trap when I think I found it. I know the answer.
Yeah. I think when you know the answer, that's when you sort of, what do you call it? You stratify an understanding, and as soon as you've done that, you've lost it because you got lost in dogma.
Yeah, it's like it's sooner or later will become the next prison cell in a
That's
sense.
it. That's the words I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ermond, if people wanted to come and see you, how will they find you?
Well, my website's ermondmachika.com. Maybe Chris will put a CJ put a link on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in Brisbane, and I've recently moved into Mitchelton, so I also do in-person sessions as well. So on my website, you might find you can message me on my website and contact me if you want to I suppose connect with me more. But I do have an Instagram and Facebook, more like a personal Facebook page, but you're more than welcome to look me up for anything like that, or just annoy Chris and we'll give you my details.
Now, about your art though, do you sell your art, or how does that work for you?
I used to sell it out. I used to print it. I have a pretty good Canon printer at home here. But I just and I used to sell it for like, I think they were like A4 and also A3 printouts.
Yeah.
But I don't really do that anymore these days. I'm also just it's more like my own sort of sharing my own expression and gifts to the world, just for me and for just sharing it with anyone who wants to look at it, and just I suppose some of my artworks, I think you'll be able to just download the larger file size of it, so you could print it out if you really wanted to. So yeah, but I stopped selling my artwork anyway. Yeah.
So you just provide it as a gift to the world.
Yeah. It's just gift to the world. So.
Nice. I'll place a link on the website on the podcast show page for this one as well, and people can find you through that way. Is there anything else that you'd like to share today? Any message you'd like to get across to everyone? I mean, we are going through quite weird times. So.
Yeah. Well, I suppose ideally, I'd love for people to just live a life that they love. Who doesn't want that? So, and I encourage people to consciously want to create that, because otherwise we're just sort of in the world and not really, like, time goes by so fast, and a year goes by in a click of a hand, and if we're not actively creating and taking action in the world, doing your passions or creating something you love, if you don't set that as a goal in the future, then you're just going to be exactly where you were 5 years ago, or you're just going to be doing the exact same place. And so, why not, do the thing that you've been holding back for a very long time, or why not take action of something that excites you? And if we all did that, I think the greater effect of that is actually changing the planet as a whole. people start doing things that they actually want to do rather than doing things obliged or out of fear, stuff like this, because the world needs more people stepping into their own selves, creating from their own hearts, desires, things that are important to them, and things that come from the heart ultimately benefit a lot of people. Just sort of get off your ass and do it, kind of thing. Just go for it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's an excellent message.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Ermond. It's been absolutely perfect and always amazing to talk to you. And
thanks. It's been fun. Thank you for having me on and letting me share and ramble and stuff like this.
You're welcome anytime. If you have any other ideas you want to come back on, just tell me and we'll set up another meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to see you, Ermond.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening today. If you have an experience you'd like to share, please get in contact with me. You can do so via Facebook, via Instagram. Just look for the Super Normalized, which is all one word. Search on those apps to find me. Otherwise, you can send me email direct at supernormalized, which is one word, super normalized with a Z, at proton.me. If you like the show, please also share the show to your friends and rate it 5 stars on your favorite podcast app. That way other people can find the show, which means they can get to have their experiences normalized.